Hello everyone, welcome to the Reaching Out channel. I just wanted to share with you the most terrifying moment of my married life was when I had to tell my husband that I had doubts about the Jehovah's Witnesses. Of course, I didn't call it doubts, but that's really what it was. Basically what had happened was we'd gone away on holiday and we were spending it with my sister-in-law who was very, very poorly, and she was really in a time of distress, and she was telling us that her being ill had really made her think about the bigger questions, and it had really stopped her in her tracks, and it had really brought her to a crossroads in her life where she decided that she was going to change things for the better. She didn't like how things had been carrying on in her life. She was going to change her job, she was going to go on holiday more, it had really made her stop and think about what was more important in life. And it was funny because it was just like a bolt out of the blue. Everything that she said to me just hit me right between the eyes. I was just, oh my goodness, that's me. I could really understand how she felt, even though I wasn't ill, but I felt that we were also at a crossroads in our lives. We'd got children now, we'd just moved house, we'd just joined a different congregation. There was lots of things that had changed in our lives, and so I went upstairs to bed because my husband and his sister-in-law are night owls, so I went up to bed but I couldn't sleep. I was sat up in bed mulling everything over, thinking, what am I going to do, what am I going to do? There's lots of things I want to say to my husband. I want to be honest with him, but is this going to end my marriage? Is it going to... My husband could turn around and say, well, you're wrong. I'm going to still go to meetings and I'll just have to go on my own. So I thought, what am I going to say? How am I going to phrase it? And I thought, I'm just going to say to him, I need to be honest with you. There's things I'm not happy about and I want to get them answered. And all the years of hearing, leave it with Jehovah, there might be a watchtower comes out that'll answer your question, there might be new light comes, it just wasn't good enough anymore. My brain was telling me that I couldn't be fobbed off any longer because we had children now, and so I really felt strongly the responsibility of a parent raising my children as Jehovah's Witnesses. It's such a full-on life that I felt the real responsibility that if I'm not 100% absolutely sure that this is the right thing, how can I impose that on my children? So when he came up to bed, I was sat up in bed and he could see something was wrong. I think he was expecting to find me asleep, so I was sat up bolt upright in bed and said, look, we need to talk. There's something I need to tell you. And so I explained to him that everything his sister had just told me was just really struck a chord, and that was exactly how I felt, that I was also at a crossroads, and you know that I'd been raised as a Jehovah's Witness, so I'd never had that moment of going through the study process, having to change my beliefs. Those beliefs had had always been there. It was different for my husband because he was contacted along with his mother when he was 14. So he'd come to it from a different point of view. So he asked me, so what were the things that were bothering me? So I said, well, I'm really, really concerned about higher education because, look, I know our kids are only little, but at the end of the day, I am concerned that this is a secular decision. It's not a religious matter. I was starting to see friends of their children having to make these decisions about their education, and I could see that influence was going to come to bear on our children as well. So I wanted to be absolutely sure that we were doing the right thing. I also said that he knew already about blood transfusions. I'd been very concerned about what the hospital had told me when I was seeing the consultant for having my first boy, and that what the society had been telling us about the reasons for refusing blood just didn't stack up, and the medical profession had a different take on it to what we'd been told, and by blindly following it, that just wasn't me. I can't blindly follow anything. I have to know the wheres and what all the reasons behind it. I have to see it for myself. So they were two pretty major reasons. And then we'd already discussed about the generation doctrine. In fact, in the previous September, there'd been a watchtower at the congregation study, which was a follow-up article about the two groups of anointed ones. And it was really, really embarrassing. The watchtower conductor, I don't know whether they'd been given specific instructions, but he insisted that every single paragraph was answered word for word out of the paragraph, and it made it look like he didn't understand it himself. I hope that wasn't the case, but that's what it looked like. And we tried our level best to find scriptural backing for it, but we just couldn't. So there and then we decided that we were going to pull out all the articles and compare them properly, and we'd never really taken the time to do it in such a thorough way because she kept so busy in the organisation that you don't really have time to properly stop, think and consider. And then the fourth reason, well, this was a reason from my husband, and my husband said that he was really concerned about the child abuse cover-up. And I said to my husband, oh no, you don't need to worry about that. That was just the Panorama programme years ago that was just, it was blown up out of all proportion. I'm sure they've learnt the lessons now. I'm sure that's not something that we need to worry about. Let's do our research. Again, let's do our research into it. And of course, my husband was proven right on the child abuse cover-up. There is indeed. The child abuse is not being handled properly at all. So we just decided there and then that we weren't going to go back to meetings as a couple, and I'm so fortunate that we came out as a couple, because it must be absolutely, I can't imagine having to go through it alone without your other half. In fact, as I was talking to my husband, I said, I understand that you might feel differently about this, and if you want me to go to the meetings with you, I will, but just understand this is how I feel. But for the sake of our marriage, I will support you, and I'll come along with the kids if you want me to, because but I was really, really lucky that my husband had very similar feelings to me. So we were able to come out as a couple. And my heart goes out to anybody in that position where they're woken up to the truth about the truth without their better half. It must be really, really hard. So I'm thinking of you today. Thanks for listening to my story. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.